Hello everyone, this is Sam Carlegian. Welcome back to another video. Welcome back to another comparison. Behind me, we have two three-row SUVs, luxury three-row SUVs. And today I'm going to compare them against each other to find out which one is the best out of these two. Now, the first thing you need to know is the fact that the MDX for 2021, it has a new platform, new interior, new exterior. And if you want to watch that comparison, old versus new, the link will be in the description box. The XT6 remains very much the same as the 2020 generation, but it is the 2021 model. If you want to watch a video of that car specifically for 2021, the link will be in the description box. I've also compared the Acura MDX to other vehicles like the one for the Lincoln Aviator. A beautiful comparison. You can watch that video. Again, everything will be in the description box. I'm going to compare the MDX to all its competitors. That is my goal because this new MDX is quite impressive. The next one will be the Genesis GV80, and we're going to find out how it stacks up against the MDX. Now, first thing, before we start talking about this two, we're going to talk about the people that made this possible. Thanks to our great friends at Acura North Mississauga, an Acura dealership located in Mississauga, Ontario, Canada. They were kind enough for a third time to allow me to borrow this and compare it against the XT6. Meanwhile, the Cadillac XT6 is provided to us thanks to our great friends at Applewood GM, a GM dealership located in Mississauga, Ontario, Canada. Two fantastic vehicles. And most importantly, if you are interested in either or, because you're watching this video, you can find the links in the description box of both dealerships. You can get a promotion or discount because you're watching this video. Now, let's start first with the Acura MDX. What makes this a better option against the XT6? So first, let's start with the pricing. You see, the base model trim, the MDX will cost you less than the XT6. That's quite impressive. Now, the difference is the fact that this model offers a front-wheel drive, but only one engine. In the XT6, you get two engines. You got a 4-cylinder and a V6. The next thing you need to know about the MDX is the fact that it is actually slightly bigger compared to the XT6, which that turns into a more cargo space. It has more cargo in total with the second row and the third row folded compared to the Cadillac XT6. The next thing you need to know is the fact that the Acura MDX tows up to 5,000 pounds, meanwhile the XT6 up to 4,000 pounds, and that of course is with the V6 engine options. Today we're not just comparing two vehicles, we're also comparing two drivetrains. The XT6 uses a dual clutch all-wheel drive system. Meanwhile, in here we have the super handling all-wheel drive system. Now, the most important thing about this fourth generation is the fact that now it increases the power delivery. Also, Acura is technically one of the founding members of the all-wheel drive system, the super handling all-wheel drive system. In fact, Audi took that kind of design and imported it into their Quattro models. So the MDX was one of the first ones to have that kind of drive system. The fourth generation has changed a lot. So before I get into numbers, I'll give you a quick explanation of the difference between a dual clutch all-wheel drive and of course the one that we have in the super handling all-wheel drive. The Acura super handling all-wheel drive can feed 100% of the power to either the left or right rear wheel while continuously varying the torque distribution between the front and the rear wheels in the process. The system can feed 90% of the power to the front wheels at straight and steady cruising. And all of this happens seamlessly and instantaneously without the driver even knowing it. It inspires Audi to incorporate a similar torque vectoring system for its Quattro all-wheel drive system back in 2007. It sends up to 70% of the engine torque to the rear axle, but it can shift 100% of the available torque to either the left or rear wheel drive. The Cadillac twin clutch all-wheel drive system includes a disconnect feature that disables the rear drive unit for improved fuel efficiency. Thanks to the twin clutch design, the all-wheel drive system is capable of transferring up to 100% of the available torque to either the front or rear axle. In addition, the system can also direct torque across the rear axle via an electronic controlled rear differential that can direct up to 100% of the available torque to either wheel. Now the next thing you need to know, as I said previously, this vehicle is actually slightly bigger compared to the XT6, so you get more trunk space in the back. And most importantly, both vehicles offer the kick option. You slide your foot under to open it, and power tailgate. The difference in here is the fact that the Acura MDX offers this walk away option. So with your key fob in your pocket, you press that, it takes a couple of seconds, and then you just walk away from the vehicle, and it locks the vehicle at the same time. The next thing you need to know is that the Acura actually has quite an amazing feature in here. So you can see you get more space underneath, and then this one you can remove it and just slide it under completely, you get more space. It's similar in the XT6. The difference in the XT6 is actually smaller. So for example, the cargo space behind the third row, in here it's about 18 cubic feet of space. In the XT6 you're looking at about 12 cubic feet of space. Very important distinction. The next difference between the XT6 and the MDX is the fact that the Acura MDX offers 3 charging stations for 12 volt DC, 3 of them. In the Cadillac XT6 you get up to 2, so we have one in here, one in front, and one in the back. The next important difference between these two vehicles, even though they're both 6 to 7 seat capacity, the Acura MDX, as I've said previously, has this new option. It's technically in the older one, but in this generation you can remove it completely. So you have a couple of options. You can turn it into an armrest, or you can just turn it into a full seat. So what you can do with this thing here, pull this lever on the side and then completely fold it back. That way now you have an extra seat. Or the next thing you can do, you have a little lever located at the bottom here, and then you just fold it completely. Now this, as I said, you can move it completely from here. The difference in here is that the fact that I don't think you're allowed to put an actual child seat. You have to put the child seat in here, sorry, not in there. You can put the child seat right in here, and then we have the seat belt on. We have the seat belt that you can connect in, and so on. The important thing you need to know in terms of similarities in the back, that they both have a climbing unit in the rear back in the second row, and they both have heated seats, a single climate zone in the back. In total you get a tri-zone, so you have 2 in the front and 1 in the back for the passenger, and they both have beautiful panoramic roof, and they both have a third row in the back which can be folded. Now let's talk about this area in terms of technology. Most importantly, here's what they have in common. Wireless charging pads. The Acura has it in here, meanwhile the Cadillac has it in beside the actual armrest, so you just slide your phone under. This is a little bit bigger. What I like about the Acura is the fact that you have this handrest and you can just use the touchpad. They both have heated seats and ventilated seats in the front, and in the XT6 you also get massage seats option. When it comes to the infotainment system, the difference is the fact that the Acura offers a 12.3 inch, which is huge compared to the one in the Cadillac, which is much smaller compared to this. The difference is though is that this doesn't have a touchscreen, but it does have a touchpad in the center. Meanwhile, in the XT6 you get a full touchscreen option. So it's more like a preference rather than advantage or disadvantage. Some people like the touchscreen, some like the touchpad. Now, as I've said before, I've gotten used to this, so it's actually much easier when you have a bigger infotainment system and you can use this kind of system. The advantage that the Acura has over the XT6 is the fact that it offers a full digital cluster and it has a 10-inch heads-up display, massive heads-up display. And of course, little touches here and there. So for example, this thing here is hidden. You have a USB port and a lightning port. So it's fully hidden inside, just a nice clean design. Another advantage that the Acura has over the XT6 is the fact that it offers auto heated seats and ventilated seats. So you see this little button here, it's on right now, and when the passenger or the driver seats, it turns on the heated option or the ventilated option, depends on the temperature outside. It recognizes the outside temperature, and based on that it will set the temperature. Most important is that if there's no passenger on the right side, it doesn't turn on anything, so it saves fuel, energy. In that car you have to do it manually if the passenger forgets. So little touches like that. They both have 360 cameras. The difference is though, we'll get into detail, that the one in the XT6 is a bit more advanced, but I'll talk about that for a minute. In terms of the space for the driver, both vehicles are very similar. Again, I've driven and reviewed the XT6 multiple times. It's just about preference, and we'll talk about how you sit when you drive the vehicle when we take them for a test drive. Other similarities between these two vehicles. First, they have all the driver assistant features like driver assistant package for lane assist, gap assist, for collision warning, and so on. So they're very similar in that. The next thing is that the steering column is actually powered, so a luxury feature offered in both vehicles. And of course, the heads-up display can be adjusted, you can add information and so on, but it's not colored in here. This is actually standard white heads-up display. In the Cadillac XT6, it's actually, in the XT6 is actually colored, so you can see a bit of the RPM and so on. Just a slight difference, not necessarily an important feature. Now, the next thing you need to know is the MDX, which kind of surprised me. It offers memory seats on both sides, passenger and the driver's side. So you have 3 in there and 3 on the driver's side. In the Cadillac, you only have, for the driver's side, you only have 2 memory seats. Something to keep in mind. There is a slight difference. The seats are both power on both vehicles, and most importantly, they both have bolster adjustments, so you can make it a bit tighter and so on. Now, let's talk about the XT6. The first thing you need to know is that the Cadillac XT6 offers 2 engine options. One, it is a front-wheel drive with a turbocharged 4-cylinder, or a V6, which is the one we have for today's video. It also makes more horsepower at 310 brake horsepower, and the Acura MDX makes 290 brake horsepower. Now, that is a slight difference in terms of performance. We'll talk about that once I take them for a test drive, but it is just engine options available to you. The next thing you need to know is the MDX in the future will be offering a Type S, which I'm assuming it's going to make about 355 brake horsepower, a big brake kit, and a lot of other features. Also, most important is they both use damping systems, so that way you get a better ride quality, and of course they adjust based on driving mode, so you can have it in sport mode, they get a bit stiffer, so that gives you a perfect ride. The Cadillac XT6 might not offer you a lot of space compared to the MDX, but what it does offer, in my opinion, is the best feature that the 3-row SUV has, is this unit in here. You see, you can fold the second row, and you can fold the third row, and fold it back. In the first row, in the second row, you can only fold it, but you can't fold it back, so you have to do it manually. But it is an easy access. That is a huge advantage that this vehicle has. In my opinion, MDX, I've said it before, failed to offer that option, especially because it is a 3-row SUV. Now, the next advantage that the XT6 has, in my opinion, is a great feature, is this camera located at the top. So they both have 360 cameras, but this is for the rear view mirror, which turns into a full LCD. And if you look beside it, there's actually a sprinkler in there to wash the camera. So if the camera gets dirty, when you're washing the front windshield, it will do the same thing for the camera. That is quite an amazing feature. In other vehicles for the Cadillac family, it's actually located at the top. This has it right in there. So let's talk about other features that you'll find in the Cadillac XT6. Well, first of all, the actual engine, the V6, offers a cylinder deactivation, which means that it can only work with 4 cylinders. That way it saves fuel, it burns less fuel. Very smart technology. It's actually something that I've used it across all their vehicles, even the Chevy model, so anything within the GM family. Now, one thing I absolutely love about this vehicle is the 360 camera. So let me put it in reverse for you. As you can see, it has a 360 option on this side, and then we have the front view. But the amount of ways that you can adjust the actual 360 camera, it's pretty insane. And then you have this, and then that side. So you have multiple ways to concentrate the view in here for the 360 camera, so you can change all that. On top of it, the XT6 offers a parking assist with brake option. So it basically, once it finds a parking spot, so you can pick right now an auto parking assist, but it does have the option to technically park itself, so it's only with brakes, so you just got to use with the gas. It shows you exactly how it works. This comes with carbon fiber interior. You have it from the door panel all the way through. Both have paddle shifters, and as I said, you have more carbon fiber on this side. Also, the Cadillac XT6, even though it doesn't tow a lot compared to that, it's about 1,000 pounds less, it has a trail hitch guidance feature, so you have to pay, I think it's extra. It comes with a different package, but basically what it does, it just helps you to maneuver when you want to attach the trail in the back. An extra feature offers in here. The next thing the Cadillac XT6 offers is belt tightening, a luxury feature that I found quite interesting. So once you put it on, there you go, it tightens, so that way it's nice and tight in its perfect position. Something that you're missing in the MDX. Why is that important? It's just a luxury feature that kind of differentiates these two vehicles from each other. Now it's time to take them for a test drive. I have driven the MDX multiple times. I've compared it. So to make this video short, I'm not going to take the MDX for a drive because I already know how it drives. I just did a video yesterday. But I will take the XT6 and I'll give you a comparison between these two vehicles. How do they compare on the road? Which one has a softer ride? Which one has a better ride or performance-wise? So don't want to get this video long to give you a proper idea. But here's the thing I was hoping to do today though, is a snow test. And unfortunately, the roads are getting cleaned, so there's not much snow on the road to actually do a proper test. But don't worry, because I will be doing a full snow test on the MDX so we can test out that super handling all-wheel drive system. And maybe we'll take the XT6 in the snow as well and see how these two compare. But not right now. But for now, we just want to do a more comparison in terms of specs, space, and how they handle on normal roads. So with that in mind, let's go for a test drive and let's talk about how do these two compare. So let's talk about how do these two drive. The first thing I noticed with the Cadillac XT6 is that the steering wheel is 40% heavier compared to the one in the MDX, which in my opinion is so much lighter. Now, if you put it into sport mode, it will get stiffer by 40% in that. So the only way to get that kind of stiff steering, you'd have to switch modes. Now, some people will say, well, I actually don't like it when it's too heavy, or I don't like it when it's too light. That is more to do with your preference. I like when it's light because it's easy to maneuver and you also have a big vehicle. The next thing that I need to add to this, the information, is that the engine in the Cadillac XT6 can deactivate 2 pistons. In the Acura MDX, it can deactivate 3 pistons. So in the MDX, you can basically get a better fuel efficiency because it deactivates 3 of them. It is a V6, of course. In here, very similar to other GM vehicles, it deactivates 2 pistons. That way it works only with 4. The Acura is slightly better fuel efficient compared to this. When it comes to the driver assistance package, both have the capability of the self-driving modes, with the exception to the XT6 that offers Super Cruise. Now, it's not available yet, but GM says that they have included this for the new model, so that means you'll be able to get the Super Cruise. Now, for the people that don't know what Super Cruise is, it's literally a self-driving mode. It's almost the same as the autopilot on Tesla. I've actually test driven it in the CT6, and it blew my mind. You don't have to keep your hands on the wheel at all, but it only works in major highways. So for example, in Canada or in Ontario, you would be the 400. Once you put it on a highway and it works with a GPS, it drives itself, something that you won't find in the MDX. But the MDX does have standard advanced cruise control, lane assist, gap assist, so does this. Even you have to add that extra with your driver assistance package. One thing I noticed again with this is the fact that it feels a bit smaller inside compared to the MDX. The MDX feels much larger. That could be a positive thing or a negative thing, whether you like that kind of vehicle. This feels to me more like a crossover than a 3-row SUV. It feels smaller inside. In terms of the driving itself, the comfort level, I think the comfort level is very much the same. It's hard to tell which one has a softer ride or a stiffer ride. The beautiful thing is they both use damping systems, which means that every time you drive, you change the driving modes, you put into sport mode, it gets stiffer. So it's very similar in both vehicles. Now, when it comes to the comfort level, the sitting position and so on, both are almost the same. It's hard to distinguish which one sits lower or higher. It's very much the same in both. So you're sitting low in both vehicles. If I had to compare it to the Lincoln Aviator that I did before, in the Aviator you felt like you were in a pickup truck. In here, you feel very low to the ground. The seats itself are very similar on both. They feel nice and huggy. They hug you tight. They keep you straight, and they're not extremely tight so you feel uncomfortable. They're very, very comfortable vehicles. It's a very difficult opinion to give when it comes to the driving experience, which one has a stiffer ride or softer ride. To me, at this point, feel very much the same. It's hard to actually pinpoint which one is better or which one is softer or stiffer. In terms of the power delivery, I think the Acura MDX with the new automatic transmission shifts faster compared to this. I've said this before in the XT6 that the transmission doesn't really shift as fast as you want it to. With that 310 horsepower V6 engine, you'd want a bit more performance shifting and faster shifting. That doesn't mean that the car is slow. I couldn't do a snow test today, and of course the drag race, because it's a bit slippery, but it's also not a lot of snow, so you can do a fair comparison. But I will take them for a snow test because I'm very, very interested how the super handling all-wheel drive system versus the twin clutch all-wheel drive compare. Not right now, but in the coming weeks, I'll book both cars as press cars and do a full comparison and see which one handles better. I will say this, I think both will do fantastic well. Both vehicles are front wheel biased, so most of the time it's actually using the front wheels. Both models use exactly the same thing. Once you put it into all-wheel drive, then it uses all-wheel drive system consistently. It's more to do how the power is shifted from the front wheels to the rear wheels and side to side. That's the difference between these two models. So the only way to test that out is by taking them both in a deep area and test it out which one is capable of coming out faster of deep areas or which one has a better traction and so on. Now that also has to do with tires and the driver, which I'll be the one driving both. Anyways, the other thing you need to know with the Acura MDX, there's an option that you can download an app when it comes to the rear entertainment units, well, the rear climbing unit, is that you can work everything from the phone. So basically you can even close the panoramic roof from the phone, you can change the radio and so on from the phone. So you got to download an app. It's a new system offered in this new generation. So that's an extra feature you get in the MDX. Also in the MDX you have the driver talk. So basically you don't have to raise your volume, you don't have to raise your voice when you're talking to passengers in the third row. That's important because if you have family or kids in the back, you don't want to shout at them from here. You can just press that button into the infotainment system. Basically it picks up the voice from here and it displays into the speakers in the back. The Acura has 16 speakers all across. Both use audio system from Bose. So you're going to get Bose in both vehicles. They're just different systems in each vehicle. Which one is the best? Well, I feel like the Acura has more clear sound. In here, there's a bit more bass, in my opinion. That's the difference between the two vehicles. I've tested out both of them, and I'd say the Acura is just a bit more less bass. This here you have more bass compared to that. To wrap up this video, which one do I like out of these two? Well, in terms of exterior design, I like the Cadillac XT6. I feel like it has a more aggressive front end. I'm leaning towards a bit more the XT6. When it comes to choices, which one do I like the most? Well, I would want to wait for the Type S for the MDX because I think that might make things a bit more interesting. You get more power. I like a bit more power in vehicles, so I wouldn't pick something that is, you know, a bit slow. I like that performance-driven experience. That's just my take. But out of these two, it all comes down to budget. Don't forget, the top trim MDX will cost you more compared to the top trim XT6, which is the sport version. But I would want to get the Super Cruise because I've tested out, it's quite amazing. So it's actually it's a very hard choice. It all comes down to budget and which exactly you like the most. Is it the XT6 and so on. At this point, out of these two, I will say I like the XT6 a bit more, but I'm not 100% on it. It's a very difficult decision because one gives you all these features, but it also looks great. It's for the money, the MDX with all those extra features and the space is the clear winner. But then you're getting some features in here that you're missing in the MDX. It's a very tough choice. I gotta say, it's a tough choice to have between these two. I'm leaning towards a bit more on the XT6. That's all I can say at this point. Let me know your thoughts. Which one do you like the most out of these two vehicles? The XT6 or the MDX? With that in mind, don't forget to subscribe and stay safe. Cheers.